Okay, the first thing I'm going to do is just lay out all my parts and pieces. So I've got my battery, I've got my Raspberry Pi. I'm going to start with the base, so you can see that each one of these pieces is going to have numbers on it. There's 2, 1, there's 2, 2, 2, 3, 2, 4, 2, 5, and 6, 2, 5, 2, 6, 2, 7. I'm going to begin with my base, and then what I've done is, because I've had to take this kit apart several times, what I've done is I've just used an ice tray, or maybe get a cup at least, or something that can separate your small pieces and parts, just so I can see them all here. And then just to tell you what they are we're looking for here. This is going to be the base for the Pi. It's going to connect it to the wooden board. These are the screws that will secure it hand tight to the box itself. These are the screws that will actually secure all the pieces together, and you can see that there are notches and diagrams and holes. Like this is where you're going to put a screw, and that's going to match up to a place where you can slot in these nuts. This is one of the hinge assemblies to open the box up, and then this is the clasp or closure mechanism that will secure the box and close it and lock it tight so none of your parts fall out. So let's go ahead and begin. The first thing we'll do is connect part 2 to part 1, and you can see right here it's got a nice layout, and it shows you where the battery is going to go, where the Raspberry Pi is going to go, where everything's going to fit together. So let's go ahead and start. So according to step 1 of the Piper Kit's blueprint that comes in the box, you're going to want to basically house the bread box or the breadboard into a small box, and it's just there's no glue or anything needed. You're just going to slide in those pieces like this to enclose the breadboard. So again, very simple. Just slide those in, kind of like puzzle pieces. There we go. And you should have something like this. So there's your 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 3. And then when you're ready, just set that to the side. You're done with this for now. So set that aside. For step 2, what we're going to do is go ahead and put together our 2, 2 piece with our 2, 1 piece. So here we have 2, 1. And the way that's going to go together is you can see how the 2, 2 numbers are going to go into what will eventually be a small box. Okay, so you can see the jagged arm here is going to go to my right, and it's going to go right in those 2 slots. And then I'll need to put in the hinge of this little box. Again, this will be numbers facing inward. Numbers facing inward. So I've got 2, 1 facing 2, 2, and now I've got 2, 3. And I'm going to slide that right in there, and it's going to hold down one edge. All right, so once I've got 2, 3, and I've got my little corner box set up there, then I'll need to add in my 2, 4. Now my 2, 4 is, you can see here, it's got some little brass holes already cut in and set in. That's where the hinges are going to go. So here's my 2, 4, and again they're labeled. Where will a nut go? Where will a screw go? And then you can see how these holes are going to match up perfectly. Okay, so if these holes don't match up perfectly, you might have switched your 2, 4 around backwards. The numbers, by and large, will go inside the box. And what I mean by that is the numbers will go inward facing, so that when your box is complete, you'll have a nice pretty finish on the outside. You see how that's a slightly different color? That finish indicates that that's the exterior of the box, and the numbers indicate that that's the interior of the box. So this is what it should look like when you reached 2, 4, step 2, 4. I've got no screws inserted or anything. I've just got my 2, 4 there. Now what I'll do now is I'll go ahead and secure 2, 4 by using one of the nuts provided and one of the screws provided. Those just come together and thread together. what I'll do, I like to hold it with my fingers, especially if you have large fingers like me. I like to hold it with my fingers and do something like this. Slide the nut in and then hold it with one finger on the back while I'm threading in the screw from the top. And I can wiggle my index finger to make the screw go in or out. And I'll just secure that in there like this. And again, I'm not going to tighten it too much. I'm just going to leave it a little bit loose. So now I've got my 2-4 completed, and I'll need to move on to my 2-5 and my 2-6. So my 2-5, again, you can see the numbers here and the screw holes that indicate where they go. And you can actually kind of imagine what we're looking at here. If you think about this, this is going to be the front flap. That little hole right there is a guide for the front flap of the box to open. So watch what I'll do here. I'll take my 2-5 and I'll put my 2-5 on the left-hand side of the box with the numbers facing inward. And when the numbers face inward, you can see that all these guide slots should match up just right. And you can see it's a nice snug fit. So what that does for me is I've got my 2-5 facing inward toward my 2-1. Okay? Now again, to kind of hold those on there, what I like to do is take one of my nuts and one of my screws and just lightly secure it. Not too much, just lightly. So I'll go ahead and slide one of those nuts in there delicately, and then I'll use my index finger on the back side of that nut to hold it at the right angle, and then I'll slide my screw in, and then I'll just lightly turn that. Now again, I'm not going to tighten it all the way. I'm just going to put it on there enough so it holds the box together while I'm working with it. And I'm just going to do one for now. That's probably plenty. Then I'll do the same thing for 2-6. Now again, you can imagine this hole is going to be for that front flap to fold down. So I'm going to turn it, and this is going to go on the right side of my box. All right, so I'll slide that in there. Okay, and now you can kind of see how this box is going to come together. I'm just going to put one screw in there very lightly. I'm not even going to turn it very much. I'm just going to put it in very lightly so it holds the box together for a second. While we're talking, I don't want it to fall apart. There we go. That's probably good enough right there. All right, so now we've got the base nearly assembled. So now you can see our base is almost complete. We're just missing this little plastic cover. So you can see that there's writing on the top of this one, and it's kind of gray on the or opaque on the bottom. So you want your cover to go in like this, and this is just an accessory holder. So you slide it into one side, and then if you need to, you can loosen up your nuts and bolts. I'm just gonna slide mine delicately in there. There we go. And that should fit nicely like that. And then at this point, if you want, you can tighten down that screw so the lid doesn't fall out. So you can tighten that one there. There's another screw here you can tighten in if you want to, but that's up to you. I'll go ahead and do mine right now because I don't want to lose my lid on that box, on that little holder. So I'm going to go ahead and complete my base. Tighten those down. There's one more in this corner here. I'll go ahead and put that one in. Again, not all the way tightened. Just again, kind of loose to make sure things don't come apart while I'm working. All right. So I've got that done. And there is the base of my little laptop, my little Raspberry Pi kit. I'm going to set that to the side, and now I'm going to go ahead and pull out my lid components. Now this is the top portion, which is going to be the top closing section of the box. And so we've got 3-1, 3-2, 3-3, 3-4, and 3-5. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll go ahead and put 3-3 is going to be at the top of the box. 3-2 is going to be at the bottom of the box. And then we just need to fit in our other pieces, okay? Okay, so let's begin. You can see that the Piper words are written here, and this is a nice smooth finish, and this is kind of a rough, lighter finish. I'm going to lay it face down in front of me here for my little workspace. I'm going to take my 3-2 piece, so here's my 3-2, and if you can imagine, you see the finish side of 3-2? It's got holes for a hinge. So if you can imagine, this is actually where the hinges are going to go. They're going to hold your box base and your box top together. Okay, so let's go ahead and connect those two. And you can see this is really just kind of a little bit of a 3D jigsaw puzzle. So I'm just going to slide those pieces together. You see how that comes flush? It comes flush or smooth on one side, and it overlaps on the other side. Okay, so what we've just done is we've added 3-2, and then we're going to go ahead and move to 3-3. So here's my 3-3. And again, you see that there's a finished side of 3-3 and a rough side of 3-3 with the numbers written on it. The rough side with the numbers is going to go into the box. And you can also see that there's a couple of holes where the clasp that's going to secure this box together goes. So I want you to go ahead and flip that around and then slide those pieces together just like that. And you see that it's kind of the opposite of 3-2. So it's flush on one side and then overlapping on the other. Now, you can imagine we're just going to connect our remaining two pieces. Again, it's always going to be numbers in, and you can see that I'm going to match the screw hole with the cutout for the nut. All right, so I'll slide that right there on top. Just put those pieces together. They should fit in nice and smooth. There we go. And then my last one is 3-5. Here's my 3-5 piece. And I'll just, again, slide those pieces together. There we go. If you find yourself at a point where they don't go together, you might just say, huh, I must have switched those around. Which is what I believe I did. There we go. So now you can see my 3-4 fits on this side, and my 3-5 fits on this side. There we are. So what I've got as a finished product for my lid is I've got the words Piper, and then on the side where the P is, if I flip the box over, on the side where the P is, I've got 3-5, 3-3, 3-4, and 3-2. So as you can imagine, now is the time when you're going to need to secure these. So you'll take your nuts and bolts that were given to you, slide those in there, these are going to secure your puzzle pieces together. Last one. I'm going to go ahead and tighten these down because there's no other components or pieces that are going to go in this assembly, so I'll go ahead and tighten these down all the way. You don't have to go too tight on these, just make sure they're not going to come loose on you. So at this point you should have a good solid lid ready to go. And now we need to work on our display. So the display is the monitor that came in the box. And let's go ahead and pull out all of our electronics right now. Okay, if you've opened your box and you found all of your electronics, you should have one little cable that has a harness on one side and a micro USB and a standard USB-B on the other side. So you're going to want to go ahead and connect that one right now to the slot that, it's the only slot that'll fit in, but the slot that's on the right of my screen right now. And you'll just slide that in until it clicks. There's also going to be this is actually a volume knob for the speaker system. So you can see it's got a little cable hanging off. This is just a standard headphone jack cable. If your speaker is giving you trouble, let me show you a couple of little tips here. So your speaker, you're going to want to lay it down. Lay down the cover like this. That's what it should look like. It can go upside down, right side up, it doesn't really matter. But what you want to do is line up the holes and alternate tightening your screws. Because what can happen is if you tighten one side down, it's going to be crooked, or if you tighten the other side down, it'll be crooked. So alternate your tightening of screws so that you have equal pressure holding these speaker assemblies into the box. So once you get a little bit of resistance, just go back and forth on these screws. Again, not too tight, very gentle, very light. And then make sure that speaker harness is plugged in. So this harness cable should go into the speaker system here and snap in. And then the volume control will snap in to this display and audio board. The last step will be to grab your HDMI cable. This is actually just a standard regular old HDMI cable. It's just very short, so it fits well in the box. And go ahead and plug that in. You can see how there's a narrow side and a wide side. Plug that in firmly. And now your monitor is ready to go. It should look something like this. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to take this monitor assembly with the speaker on the right and the Piper words facing you, and we're going to add that to our Piper box, our Piper top. Okay, so I'm going to turn my Piper top over, just like this, and I'm going to slide in my assembly to make sure everything fits. And what you'll notice are that there are several holes for the cables. So these holes are going to go right there for all of your cables. So it should work out nicely for you. So let's see if everything fits. That looks great. It looks really good. Now, before we put the monitor into the top housing, the top of the case, we're going to need to add the swinging hinge assembly for the top of the box. So you can see that there's a hole on the right side here, and that's where I'm going to attach my little hinge arm, okay? And that hinge arm is going to be attached using these bolt and nut combinations that you'll find in your kit. So one's got a flat side and there's a bolt that goes into it, and the other one's got a Phillips that screws in. So I'm going to take my hinge here and I'm going to put it with the shiny part out. It doesn't actually matter, but just to make it pretty, put the shiny part out, and I'm going to take the nut, the receiver, I'm going to slide it through that hole like this, and then I'll put the entire receiver through that hole in the top of the box, and now you can see that I can put this screw right in here. Go ahead and tighten that down. Now this one, you're going to want to grab something flat. I just got a pair of scissors here sitting around, but you can use something like a dime or a penny to just hold that while you tighten it up a little bit. There we go. Nice and snug. And now you can see how this is going to work. This is going to be the hinge that allows the box to open and close. Now we can go ahead and put the monitor right inside. So I'm just going to line up the top, push it down gently. There we go. And then I'm going to get my cable set. Now personally, I have the audio cable here on the far right. I have the HDMI in the middle, and I have the USB and micro USB on the left. It doesn't really matter. I just find that these are the places that it fit well for me. I'm just going to push those cables up into their little receiving slots, and then now you can see that everything should just come right together, just like that. Push it down firmly. Looks good. All right, so here's the challenging part. The challenging part is when you put in these bolts and nuts to secure it, you want to be careful not to push this nut into the inside of the box. So you're going to be really careful. And what I do is I just use my finger to gently push, and then put a screw in at the same time to catch it. You can see it's going to fall in right about there, and then I can screw it in. And you can tighten these all the way down because this is not going to reopen for you. It's not going to open up again. Here's my other one. Again, I'm just going to gently slide that nut in and then put a screw in from the top so it catches, and then I'll tighten it down. All right. That's nice and snug. Now you have to imagine this is going to be the hinge, but we need something to secure this top box to the bottom box. And you can see there's a couple of holes here where those actually will come together. So what I like to do is I like to stand my box up, and you can put the two sides together just like this, and you can see how it's going to fit together. And that's going to be really nice. It's going to be really nice looking when it's all done. So I'm going to go ahead and stand it up, and I'm going to go ahead and put my hinges on right now. And the hinge screws are these very small, very delicate little brass screws. Go ahead and put the bottom first. Top. have to tighten these up too tight, but you do want them to be firm and attached permanently. So don't over tighten these, don't crack the wood. Just nice and firm. Followed my instructions here, you should have a box that opens but doesn't hold itself. So now we obviously will need to, what I do is turn the box kind of on its side and put the display or the top of the box down, and then now you can see I've got the bottom that I can now put in the second hinge. So remember, these two pieces here are what you're going to need. And I'm going to put the receiving end with the flat end, with the flat head. I'll put it through this hole and then line it up in that slot. And once I line it up in that slot, then I can put in the Phillips side or the Phillips screw. And screw that down. And now you can see that your box will only open so far, but it doesn't allow it to close. So that's your hinging mechanism. Again, you're going to want to tighten those up. Just find something flat, like a dime or a penny. Hold on to that flathead side while you turn the Phillips side. There we are. All right, thanks for sticking with me. We're almost done. You can see that we have one more piece to go. This one is the 2/7 piece, and I apologize because I've actually glued on my breadboards, my little mini breadboards, to this piece, but I'll show you why in a few minutes. This is just a part that I've taken off and put back together several times, and I wanted to help you assemble your box and make the video, but I didn't have a spare unit to use. So as you recall, I haven't put the screws in on these two front sides there on the base of my pie kit. So what I'm going to do is slide one notch in on one side, slide the other notch in on the other side, and you can see that because I haven't done those screws yet, it allows me to just slide them right in. And now you can see I've got kind of a front hatch to use. Now at this point, now that they're already in there, I can go ahead and put my screws in and tighten this down fully. So again, just like before, what I like to do is get my screw started and then just gently push down the nut until it catches the screw. You can see mine just fell through the bottom here. So what you might want to do is turn it sideways. That can be helpful. All right, so if I turn it sideways, that's going to let me hold the nut as I push through the edge here. So I'm going to push gently with the nut, put that right there, and then I can hold that with my finger, and then I can slide the screw in from the top, screw that down, and grab my screwdriver. And I'll tighten these all the way down now. And I'll tighten this one that I didn't tighten before, I'll tighten it all the way down now. We're ready. And then this one on my corner piece, tighten it all the way down. And now one side is ready to go. So I'll do the same thing. I'll do the same thing on this side. I'll just stand my box up. Find that hole. And I'll slide my nut in through the slot. Grab my final screw, feed it through the top, and tighten that down all the way. Go ahead and tighten these down completely. All right, so tighten these down completely. Go ahead and take your screwdriver back to the original bolts that I said not to tighten in all the way, and go ahead and complete those. All right, so here we've got our final assembly. And looks pretty good. you can see that there's one notable thing missing, and that's our front clasp. So here's our front clasp assembly. Now I don't have any preference on which side you use. They will work on both sides. I like to have the locking mechanism on the top so it slides down to a closed position. So I'm just going to put that clasp right there and then screw those in. And then you can see I've got my last final 2 screws for the base here. Put those in there. Tighten those down all the way. Not too tight, just, you know, just enough. That should just fit together nicely like this, and now your box stays closed and locked. When you open that clasp and you open your box, you have a flap that should fold down just like this. So now what we'll do is we'll go ahead and assemble the rest of our materials. Now at the very beginning, I recommend that you plug in your battery with this micro USB cable that comes in the box. Plug that in as soon as possible because you're going to want to charge it up. Okay, so to do that, just plug in that micro USB to the battery pack, charge that into the wall port or to a charging brick that you have, and I'll set that to the side for now. Let's go ahead and find our Raspberry Pi. So here's our Raspberry Pi. You can see that it comes with a wooden base already connected to it. It's just screwed in with a couple of screws. And there's a slot where the SD card goes. It's cut out from the wood. USBs and Ethernet on one side. And that just goes right here, right into that little notch. But you can see that there's a gap here. And so what we need to do is put in these posts. And you can see there's 3 of these brass posts. And they just screw right into the base. You can see there's some receiver holes. Just hand tight those. You don't have to use any kind of tools. Just hand tighten. And that looks good. And then just because it's easier for me, because I have really big fingers, I'm going to go ahead and plug in my Pi right now. I'm going to plug the HDMI in. That's one. Plug the sound cable in, and I'm going to plug in the power. Now you can see I probably should have done my power cables on the other side, but it doesn't really matter. I'm going to go ahead and plug in my micro USB here. All right, so now you've got sound, video, power. That's a audio or headphone jack, HDMI cable, and a micro USB. I'm going to give myself a little bit of slack here, pull that wire from the top of the box. I'm going to slide it right into that slot. And then once I have the holes lined up, I'll take these and put them right into the receivers that are down below. And these are just going to be hand tight. No tools required. There's 3 of these. So I just match those up. Now this USB is going to provide power to the entirety of the system. So the display, the Pi itself, everything is going to be powered from this USB. And that power source is not a wall jack, it's actually just this little battery pack. So I'll go ahead and plug in this battery pack. we go. And you can see this battery pack has got a label on it. You're going to want the label side up. I'll show you why. Now to insert the battery, turn it sideways just a little bit and then let it flatten out. And you can see that the edge of the wood will actually hold the battery in place so it doesn't come out. And then notice on the side of the box, close it up, notice that on the side of the box, there's a slot right here. And that slot is actually to receive that micro USB that you received in your kit so that you can actually plug in your battery while you're using it. So that means you can charge your battery while you're using it just by taking this USB, this micro USB, and putting it through the hole that's already cut into the side of the box. So make sure you got it in the right direction. Put it in the side there. Plug that in. Make sure it's oriented the right direction. There we are. And so now you're plugged in. You can plug into a power source if you'd like to charge the battery at the same time. But you are ready to use your Pi. The only missing component here is actually not critical. It's just the breadboard. Remember, this was our step 1. Now we're just going to slide that right in there, right on top. There's a front cover to your breadboard, so if you wanted to use it, I like to leave mine off because for the training you're going to be doing with T3, you don't need to use the remote control that comes with the Pi kit. But hold on to that piece because it is really fun and you can do a lot of really interesting things. So if you've assembled it completely and followed my directions, you put that top cover on your breadboard. This is what you should look like as a final product. And now I'll go ahead and hit the power button. Turns on the battery pack. It also turns on the Pi, and you can see my monitor is now lit up, and it's going to be loading the Raspberry Pi operating system that I have on my SD card inserted here in the Pi. So, congratulations, you've just built a computer. I hope you have fun at your training, and let us know if you need any more support.